Welcome, welcome everyone. This is Isabel. It's wonderful to see your faces and your names coming in. This is our year-end inventory, and we are here today to do a very simple task, and that is to take time together to look over what actually happened this past year. Welcome, Paula. Welcome, Siobhan. Welcome, Smadar. I have just the top of the hour, but it's lovely to see you and to see your faces. Let's see, more people are joining. I'm just keeping an eye on the participants here. Let's see if there's something I want to say that's today is very simple. Today is a little more simple than the next 2 days that are part of this annual planning ritual. And again, planning is in quotes because it's really not about planning. Today is a little bit simpler day, which today is really just a beautiful container to be supported and to check in as you do your personal inventory of the year. So I'm not going to be teaching, and there's really just one set of instructions for the whole 3 hours today. Let's see. I'll review the schedule, and I'll probably say this more than once. So our schedule today is basically an opening here now, a check-in in the middle, and a check-in at the end of the day, right? Just so that you feel supported and held as you're doing this process. So I sent out different emails, and I want to clarify, there was one place I slightly misstated what the schedule is. So we're meeting now. I'm going to keep it pretty short, 10 or 15 minutes. Our next check-in is in 1 hour. Our next check-in is in 1 hour. I sent a big email out to my full list that I said you were gonna have an hour and a half, and then we were gonna check in, and that's not true. So our next check-in is in 1 hour. So you'll have about 45 minutes to do the beginning. We'll check in an hour. And then after that check-in, you'll have about an hour and 30 minutes before our final check-in. I did send an email this morning that said everything you need to join today, and I have the Zoom schedule in there. So welcome, Anne-Marie. Welcome, Melanie. Welcome, Carol. Good to have everybody here. Oh, Siobhan looks like she got bumped and then back in. Okay. So, yep. Okay. Welcome, everybody. So today is the inventory. And I like to compare this to, stores that do an inventory, right? And they look at everything they have and they make notes, right? And they catalog what they have. So the invitation today is to take that time and look at your source material. So number one, hopefully you've already decided what your source material is. And by source material, what I mean is, what is it you're going to actually look at today to help you review what happened this year? I use a business journal, and I was going to say I pulled it out. This is my stack of journals from this year, and that's my primary source that I like to go through. As I mentioned in the workbook, and you should have all received a link to download it's about a 5-page workbook. You get to choose what your source materials are. What I generally recommend is you want something more detailed than like a wall calendar, that's the month, right? Which probably doesn't have quite enough detail in it. And you might find, like, if you are a journaler or you keep a diary or something, sometimes that's, if you have 5 pages for every day of the year, that might be so much detail that it's really, really slow to go through. Unfortunately, it looks like people keep getting bumped off and then jumping back in. Well, I'll keep my eyes open and catch you if you need to come back in. Great. So know what your source materials are. again, generally, I use my online calendar, which gives me kind of a high level view. And then I use my business notebook where I kind of do a page like this every day. And that gives me just about the right amount of detail. And you're welcome to creatively review anything else. One of the ones I love that somebody came up with a while back was she looked at all the photos on her phone from the year, which I think is a really creative way to do it. So have fun with it. There's no right or wrong, but pick your source materials. Number two, what I want to convey is, make this a rich, sweet, pleasant experience for yourself. You might want to put on beautiful music. You might want to light a candle. You might want to have some delicious tea that you can sip, but anything that supports you in sinking into a really rich, Carol, it looks like you have a hot beverage there, or food, right? Just anything that helps you make this a rich, sweet, reflective time is wonderful. I just want to remind you, we're not doing the review yet. So this isn't the day that I ask you what surprised you, what nourished you, like it's not the digestion. It's really, the way I like to think of it is you're witnessing yourself, right? You're taking this time to really witness what the journey was that you walked this year. And that's one of the things I love about this process, is just that idea that we are honoring ourselves by witnessing everything that we did, that we engaged, that we took on, that happened to us this year. And the other thing I think is really important to say is I think, so what I usually recommend, and I've said this in the notes, is as you go through and you witness, I usually like to have my notebook and I write down everything I notice, what strikes me, what did I forget, what did I actually spend a lot of time on that I'd kind of forgotten about, what was a big turning point. So I keep little notes just to help me as I go through. But one of the things that is one of the biggest reasons I think people don't do this process is because when we do this, feelings are going to arise, right? And most of us, it's not so, like, one of the beautiful things that happens is people usually tell me through this process, you actually reclaim, some of yourself, right? You go, oh, I actually did a lot more than I realized. Oh, I really see how hard I was working, or how I practiced this intention I had. But there may also be more difficult emotions that arise through this. Sadness, right? Grief, loss, disappointment, embarrassment, judgment, right? Like all of these things might come up. And as much as possible, I invite you to, make yourself a safe place for all of those things to arise, because I really believe that when we let feelings come up and we meet them with love and acceptance and compassion, and we breathe with them for a minute, they often will release. So part of what can happen in the process of this inventory is both a refeeling and a releasing of some of that emotion. And the power of that, I think, is then, again, if we think ahead to the new year, there's sort of a clearing and a freeing. So we're not creating our new year in reaction to some of those difficult or uncomfortable feelings, but we are more able to clearly hear, the call of our heart, that true calling, that true desire, and we can let that lead us forward. Again, some of this is in the notes, but I just wanted to say it out loud. A couple of things you can do, and some of you already have your own process for working with emotion. But a couple of things, if these are helpful tools, is I would say when the feeling rises up, you want to feel it and not brace against it. Breath work is great, hands on your heart. You might give yourself a hug, right? And just be like, oh, honey, right? And again, sometimes I say to myself things like, oh, honey, you feel sad, right? This is what it's like to feel sad, right? And you just give yourself that warmth and that comfort. And I try to, when it comes up, to feel it and breathe it. And I've heard somewhere, I haven't verified this, that if you allow yourself to really feel something and really stay present with the feeling, feelings often will only last for about 90 seconds. And it's all the things we do to push it away or push it down that actually prolong it. Another practice, and this is in the notes, that I do, and I learned this from Rebecca Skeel, who's a wonderful spiritual teacher. It's a ritual of 3 lines. I accept, right? I accept that I'm feeling sad. Breathe in, breathe out. I forgive myself for feeling sad. Breathe in and breathe out. And I forgive myself for judging myself for feeling sad. You breathe in and breathe out. So that's the main stuff I want to convey. I have a little poem for you. But let me just say, just to hear your voices a little bit, not your literal voices, just because we have a big enough group here. But I'd love you to put 1 or 2 words in that describe the energy you want to bring to the process and to yourself. 1 or 2 words that you think capture the feeling or the spirit that you want to bring to this. Great. Anne Marie said gentle focus. Marilyn, celebration, forgiveness. Beautiful. Yeah, those are great words too. Those are perfect. Paulita said receptivity, joy, kindness, truth of life, tender compassion, approval. Yeah, wonderful. All right. I'm about ready to let you go. I was going to read a little poem to send you off. Any questions? And you can unmute and just ask me the question. Any questions before I set you free? Really, my vision is that between now and the end of the day of our time here, you will be working on this inventory. By the way, if you don't finish by the end of the day, that's fine. You'll just finish on your own time. And like I said, we'll check in an hour just to hear any insights and give each other a little boost of energy. And then we'll go back and do some more.
I have a question. Do we stay on Zoom the whole time?
Oh, that's a great question. No, I generally, I recommend, I mean, you could, but I don't think anyone will be there. So I recommend we go on and off Zoom. I think that just gives people a little bit clearer. I don't know, maybe someday I'll try it that way. But my vision was we'll sign off Zoom and you'll sign back in at the top of the hour.
Okay. And then when do we end?
Okay, so we end at, so the day I have for you ends at 3 p.m. Eastern. And our final session will be 2:45 to 3 p.m. Eastern.
Okay.
So we'll meet about 15 minutes before the end to do our, just check in and see how the day went and complete the process.
So we meet at 1 and at 2:45.
Yeah, if you, yes, at 1 and 2:45, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, you should have gotten an email, and you can check spam if you didn't, that gave all the Zoom sessions. But yes, those are they. All right, anybody else? All right, well, I'm proud of myself for being good with the time because I want to give you more time to work and not just sit here with me. This is a very short poem from John O'Donohue. He has a wonderful book called To Bless the Space Between Us. And I saw this one this morning, and it's a blessing to come home to yourself. Because ultimately, my work is all about naming and living the spiritual truth of who you are, and of helping you see yourself with new eyes that helps move you out into the world. So I love this idea of a blessing to come home to yourself. May all that is unforgiven in you be released. May your fears yield their deepest tranquilities. May all that is unlived in you blossom into a future graced with love. So with that, I send you off to engage in your inventory. If you need anything, you can email me, isabel@isabelparlett.com, or send me a message on Facebook Messenger if we're friends. And I look forward to seeing you in an hour. Take care, everybody. See you in a bit.